An hour and a half that could decide an election. David Eby, John Rustad and Sonia Furstenau squaring off, and at times a nervy, at times intense leaders' debate.
But John, why didn't you do that in the 16 years you were in government? We wouldn't be in this mess.
In 2017, they promised 114,000 homes, and what did they build? I think about 14,000. Now he's promising 300,000. You cannot trust.
On housing, the debate centering on whether government should get involved. Conservative leader John Rustad stating the province should get out of the way in favour of the private sector, a much different approach from the NDP.
It was, first of all, it was foreigners, and then it was speculators, and then it was vacant properties, and then it was Airbnbs, instead of pointing at the real problem, which is government.
I believe that one of the foundational requirements for a decent life in our province is a good place to live, and that it's actually a core responsibility of anybody who wants to be premier. It's why I got into politics. This is what drives me.
More than half of British Columbians in a recent Angus Reid Institute poll fearing John Rustad is too extreme to be premier. Rustad trying to paint a vision that things could be better under his watch, especially considering that nearly half of all the drug overdoses in this country are in BC.
That, to me, is a failure of leadership. It's weak leadership in British Columbia. People should be able to hope and build a dream here.
On affordability, Eby trying to defend his record while also taking attack at the Conservatives' signature affordability promise to provide tax breaks on rent and mortgage.
He also is not telling you the full story about his Rustad long wait, that you don't actually see a benefit until at the earliest 2026, and then only if you own your home or if you have high rental costs. If you're living in a rural part of British Columbia and you have low rent, you see the least amount of benefit. And that's why there's a guy with an $80 million house in my constituency that loves John Rustad.
Furstenau acknowledging she won't be the premier, focusing on modernizing the healthcare system by expanding public care and by improving relationships with Indigenous people. The opposite, she says, of what Rustad would do.
John just wants to take us back to the 20th century. It's where he feels most comfortable. It's where he feels that we should be going.
And on healthcare, Rustad debunking a myth, while Eby reminding people the BC Liberal record, a government Rustad was a part of.
We're going to be adding about $3.8 billion in healthcare spending over the next 3 years. David Eby continues to perpetuate a lie.
And now he says, oh, if you send me back, I'm going to be different this time. I'm not going to cut the healthcare system. I'm not going to fire the workers who care for the seniors. The largest firing of healthcare workers happened when John Rustad was in government, and he voted for it.
And Richard Zussman joins us now from outside the debate studios. Richard, we saw what happened during the debate. What happened afterwards when the leaders spoke to reporters?
Yeah, we had an opportunity, Jordan, to ask some questions. One of the things we wanted to get clarity on was something John Rustad said during the debate. Right at the beginning of that debate, he said on his way here, he saw someone die on the side of the road. They were being assisted by a medical team. He tried to explain that a little bit further, saying it was something he saw out of a window, that someone was in distress. He believes it was an overdose. They were getting assistance from that paramedic. And then I asked, why did he believe this was something that was important to share with the public? He says he wants to create a message around the reality of what's happening here. What we heard from Sonia Furstenau post-debate was much more positive. She spoke about trying to paint a vision for British Columbians, and that she believed that it was really important during that debate to focus on what we can become in British Columbia and not to go backwards. What we saw in David Eby was somebody who was confident with his performance, felt that he had differentiated himself enough from John Rustad, but struggled a bit when articulating around that question of why should the NDP be given 4 more years when they've already had 7? He repeated some of those same answers from the debate around how they've seen things starting to work. So he also showed off at a lighter moment, Jordan, the good luck charms he had in his pocket. He had a dog from daughter Iva and a pendant that was given to him from son Ezra. And he said that was what he thought gave him the positive momentum to provide a strong debate.
All right, Richard Zussman reporting from outside the debate studio in downtown Vancouver. Let's bring in Legislative Bureau Chief Keith Baldrey now. John Rustad, the unknown here, when you look at all 3 of them, did he do tonight what he needed to do to get ahead?
Not really. I think he needed to do more than this. I mean, he came across, obviously, first and foremost, the age difference between him and Eby was very apparent. So Rustad looked noticeably older. I think he was a bit nervous. I don't blame him. The sitting can be pretty pressure-packed. But he was very negative. And you heard Richard tell about that story about his opening his first remarks, basically talking about watching someone he thinks dying from a drug overdose on the sidewalk. And really relentlessly negative. But this is all part of, I think, John Rustad and the Conservatives' plan, Jordan. And that's to paint a picture of chaos out there, that our place is falling apart, society's falling apart, the healthcare system is falling apart, and not the question of who is the best premier. So if the ballot box question is who would make the best premier, David Eby clearly comes out on top, not only in tonight's debate, but in poll after poll after poll on the question of who makes the best premier. Eby is like 8-9 points ahead of John Rustad. But if the question is going to be, we need change, and to Richard's point is, you know, you've had 7 years at the helm. Is it time for a change? Rustad is hoping that question becomes the dominant ballot box question on October 19th, not who will make the best premier. And that's why he's relentlessly painting this picture continuously about all the things that are going wrong out there.
Well, it was a bit of a joke a few days ago when David Eby released his platform. Then the joke was that John Rustad's name was mentioned twice as much as David Eby. So did David Eby articulate his vision? Should he be given another chance?
Well, yeah, again, yes and no. I don't think anybody had a standout performance here. I mean, David Eby was much more animated and engaged. But people who watched it saw the three-shot. Yeah. And you saw Eby in profile quite a bit. He's turning this way, then he's turning this way, facing Furstenau, facing Rustad. Rustad refused to look at the other leaders. I think he looked at them once. I think he smiled once. Eby was much more animated. But, you know, the person I thought probably did the best was Sonia Furstenau, the Green Party. I thought she acquitted herself quite well. She benefited from not being the other guys and just saying, look, you know, these two people are worried about themselves and I'm worried about the bigger picture and helping the province. So Furstenau came out pretty good.
She did say these two a couple of times.
A couple of times, yep.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Keith.
All right.